I now have them labeled with helpful little pictures.
So we won't get the bit where it's you hit the wrong one like 3 times.
Right, exactly. But something weird happened where, and I genuinely don't know how this happened. It was like a ghost in the machine where I put my headphones on to start setting up today, and as soon as I put them on, it was in the middle of did it all for the Moogle, and I don't know how that happened, or if I had a weird hallucination that it was in the middle of did it all for the Moogle.
Well, that's your intro music when you sit down to start working on something. That just automatically plays in the background to pump you up. I guess
so. But I don't know, because I tested that the buttons were working with the David Lynch one. But so then I went to go put on the headphones, and then it was playing "Did It All for the Moogle."
Now every time you enter a room, it's just gonna appear out of nowhere. I guess, and start playing.
Yeah, I'm like a wrestler or something, and that's.
It's like Phoebe Bridgers at Coachella. Her new intro song is "Down with the Sickness."
That's very good.
It is very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, what's up? This is the DeadEndRoad Show. Episode 51. It's the start of a new era. I got buttons. My headphones work. Things are looking up.
I was gonna. Speaking of the episode number, you ever consider doing seasons?
Yeah, we technically have the ability to do so. I could split it into seasons. I don't know what it looks like on the user end, but I technically can do seasons. Like if we want to consider this the start of season 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what purpose it would serve, but I thought, because some podcasts do that, right? They split up into seasons. Although usually they either are covering like a certain topic for a season, then they switch over to something else, or like they take a break, right? But we're not, we would just be doing the same thing that we always do. So,
right, yeah. So I could check the box. It says like season 2. Like I could do,
if you wanted to. I
could try. I don't know if it's gonna change anything. I would have to see. But yeah,
I wonder if there's like stats for I mean I guess it depends. There's all sorts of variables, but like whether having multiple seasons or just having like never ending episode numbers, whether that changes like listenership, like whether one's better than the other.
Right. I have no idea, because like it might be intimidating if somebody sees like there's like 400 episodes or something. It's like, well, why would I start at episode 682?
Exactly.
Even though I think this is a show where you can just listen to any of the fucking episodes.
Yeah, because on the other hand, it's like, oh, do I have to listen to season 1 in order to understand season 2?
Right. So yeah, we don't really have a narrative through line that you have to keep up with, I would say. So yeah, that is a possibility. Did you see this? So you didn't see this USFL shit?
No.
Okay. So there's the USFL spring football. I don't really know the circumstances around the league.
This isn't the Vince McMahon league, is it?
No, that's the XFL, which is apparently still happening. It's coming someday. It's not money laundering. It's definitely going to happen.
Are there is that the one with 8 teams?
I don't know how many teams there are, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't know any of the players. I don't really know the circumstances. I know that they're all being played in, I think it's Georgia or something. I'm getting a lot of this info from my dad, because my dad has decided to watch this because...
Do we think this league is more or less racist than the NFL?
Well, I think this story might... I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I think this is going to be one. It's like they're trying to be like this league where it's like, no, we're doing real football. Like we're gonna.
What does that even mean?
Like this is work. You got to put the work in, and you got to put the work out. Like that kind of bullshit. Where they just say a lot
if the other professional football players don't work out. Like what does that even?
Right, but just that kind of bullshit. Like that football talk where they just kind of keep saying football and like hard nosed nonsense.
Is this sort of like the equivalent of like what we were talking about the other week with hockey, and how people have this like old fashioned mindset where they just want to see like fights and stuff and just like...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So the one thing, because I sat and watched like maybe 5 minutes of gameplay that my dad had on. And so all the games are being played in one stadium, and calling it a stadium is being very generous. It looks like a high school field. And I don't know if they sold if they're selling tickets, or if the attendance was just really embarrassing, because it was the stands were empty, like completely empty. So they might just not be selling tickets. which seems probably like a bad move for revenue. And so they've decided to mic up literally everyone on the field.
Interesting.
And then also place mics like on the sidelines. So you're hearing everything, like absolutely everything, like the crunch of the pads and all this shit. And so whenever there was a play going on, I thought somebody was popping bubble wrap like by a microphone before I knew that everybody was mic'd up, because it's just a chaotic mess of noise. So what they're doing is they have everybody mic'd up, but they don't have a producer saying like, okay, we should have like this guy's mic turned on right now. Like there's nobody directing like what should be heard and what shouldn't be heard depending on what might be interesting at a given moment. So it's literally everything is turned on all the time.
So what we know so far, no fans, no producers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it just sounds like a zoo. Mm-hmm. And so you could also hear the play calling, which might be kind of interesting. But then you could also hear players talking on the sidelines, and you don't know the context for anything that they're saying. And so it just kind of sounds like crazy people like talking on the street. Like this guy was just like, "Oh, get out of his face, man! Leave him alone! Leave him alone! You don't even like just walk away!" Like all this kinds of shit. Like it sounded like people were fighting, but like the camera is not like focused on what was going on there. So like it just sounded like you're out on the street and like you just hear people talk. Like it was like the noise of a city. Like it was chaos. I couldn't.
Is this like,
it was like system overload?
Is this ESPN?
I think it was like CBS or some shit.
Okay.
Or it's like being simulcast. I think it's like on like multiple networks at once or something. And so there's a handful of teams, and one of the teams is the Pittsburgh Maulers. Oh. And they made headlines before they had played a game.
That's never good.
No, it's not. Because they cut a player, and it turns out he was like going to be their star, I think, running back.
Okay.
So they don't like consider him cut. They considered him fired, which is an interesting dichotomy for sports. And the reasoning was because he wanted to eat pizza instead of chicken salad. I
mean, I feel like 9 out of 10 people are making that choice.
You would think. So they cut running back Davion Smith. This was after their 17-3 loss in the USFL opener. And so the problem was that the league released sort of a Hard Knocks-esque documentary about like the opening bit of this league. And so this part was covered in the documentary. So his firing is on tape. Mm-hmm. And we've got the clip.
Oh, no. Before we even play it, this itself, having this part of the documentary seems a bit unprofessional. No?
It's not a very good look.
Yeah. Like,
it's not a very good look.
Firing somebody on camera?
Yeah. And you generally don't need the visual for this. It's literally the coach and maybe the general manager and then also some other guy in a hoodie. I can't tell if he's a player or maybe another coach talking to the player about the quote-unquote incident where he didn't want to eat chicken salad for dinner.
Okay.
So that's the setup.
John Peterson, personnel director.
What's up, man?
Hi, Coach.
Good morning, man.
Well, he crossed the line, so we had to deal with it.
This is very difficult for me as a head coach, my first time. But we have a business. Okay, this is a business, and you're a businessman. We all are, because that's the nature of the beast right now. But when I first talked to you guys on March 22nd, I had a handbook. I covered some items that were very important to me.
Line 46 addresses that. Any disrespect of football or members, staff, USFL, hotel, etc. would not be tolerated.
And it's been brought to my attention that has occurred with you. So unfortunately, hear me out. Unfortunately, the cost of doing business, I'm going to have to let you go. Okay?
I didn't think I did anything or said anything disrespectful. I can tell you what happened exactly.
It's not important right now.
Right.
It's not important.
I don't know.
It's already happened.
Right.
It's already happened.
I didn't say anything disrespectful. He said, is that going to be a problem? I said, yes. That's it. And I walked away. I mean, I didn't think that was disrespectful. Me saying yes, I don't eat chicken salad. And I was like, is there another option? Walked in with pizza, and I was like, can I get a slice of pizza? He said no. I was like, he said, is that gonna be a problem? I said yes. That's all I said. I didn't say no cuss word, nothing. That's all I said. I promise you. No disrespectful on my dad's life. I promise you I didn't say nothing disrespectful besides yes.
And I appreciate you sharing that. But the matters, it's done. It's done. I appreciate you sharing that. But good luck.
Someone's feelings, hurt feelings, are a distant second to the greater good of the team. And we've moved on and turned that page, and I'm happy we did it.
This is incredible.
It's something else. He's happy he did it, the head coach. He's happy he fired the man because he wanted a slice of pizza. And so everybody was like, well, what the fuck? Like, this is how you're going to run this, like, new operation?
Well, my first reaction there is like there has to be more to the story, but then also there probably isn't, right? Like, I'm talking about the pizza chicken salad story. Like there has to be something else,
right?
To
according to the player, he's like, hey, like I don't feel like I disrespected anybody. I didn't curse at anybody. I just he asked if it was going to be a problem. I said yes. And so after this kind of blew up, the Pittsburgh Maulers released a statement on Davion Smith being cut from the team on United by Football, which was the name of the documentary. On the first episode of United by Football, the weekly USFL all-access docuseries on Fox, Davion Smith was shown on camera being cut from our team by Coach Kirby Wilson. The show captures hundreds of hours of film with the intent of providing transparency to fans. But unfortunately, much of the context was left out in this moment. Smith had violated 3 team rules in a 24-hour span, and this particular incident disrespected a cafeteria worker, which wasn't captured on camera. Smith has subsequently reached out directly to Coach Wilson to apologize and asked to be reinstated to the Maulers roster. Which is an interesting way to end the statement.
So they have hundreds of hours of footage, but not the most crucial footage, which is the actual incident here.
Not the incident or the other 2
infractions,
team violations.
Yeah.
Or talking about the other 2 team infractions that he committed.
Right.
And instead only showed footage of him being fired over the pizza thing.
And you know what? If that's what you're choosing to show, then that is what the public is going to judge you based off of.
Right.
So yeah, absolute joke of an organization here.
Yeah. And as it turns out, the Pittsburgh Maulers are also very bad in this. I don't even know what you would call this league. Amateur football. I don't know what it.
I would call it real football.
It's the realest football. But so in the 5 minutes of gameplay I was watching, the commentators were like, yeah, the Maulers don't really have much of a running game.
Wait, was Davion Smith the running back?
Yes. And also they had 0 passing game because they had already swapped out their quarterback. And this was in the second quarter I was watching. And it's the guy that they swapped in was like 1 for 6.
Ooh.
So
that's like New York Jets numbers there.
Yeah, so they're not very good.
Is it possible that the Maulers have a chicken salad sponsorship of some sort?
You know, maybe. Yeah, I just don't get the whole. So like the whole team had to eat chicken salad. I don't know what the deal is. It's just so bizarre. These are life lessons. They have nothing to do with football. You're trying to teach people how to respect other people, no matter how you see or view them. Yet immediately reached back out, apologized, committed to trying to be a better man, better person from the incident. But we have already moved on.
Yeah, it's so it was so strange, the interaction too, because it's like you're not even letting this guy sort of tell his side of the story here. You're just like, it's over. We've already made our decision and there's nothing you can say to change it.
Right. This was almost like some kind of like you know, like a prison thing where it's like you got to go in there first day, beat up the toughest guy. That old, you know, cliche
where
it's like,
okay,
where it's like we have to fire somebody immediately to show that we mean business. And it turned out like the first time somebody had quote unquote slipped up was over some kind of food related, like trumped up charges. Like, and so they cut him. for this to show that, like, just show the rest of the team that they were, you know, they meant business, but it makes them look like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So that's the USFL. I do have another little deep dive that I wanted to get into here, and you might not have seen this story. So there is a romance author that is currently on trial for murdering her husband.
Mm-hmm. Happens from time to time.
Yeah. So Nancy Crampton Brophy is a romance author who allegedly murdered her husband in 2018. Her husband was a chef and instructor. And
this doesn't have anything to do with chicken salad now, does it?
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't.
Okay.
He had been shot inside a classroom that was like sort of adjacent to a garage that had an open door. And police originally thought this was like some sort of failed robbery where he had been shot. And so now this case is going to trial. She was arrested several months after the incident. And prosecutors are saying that she murdered him for the life insurance money. And so prosecutors also believe it now wasn't a robbery because he had cash on him when he died, and like all his possessions were there. So like there was nothing missing from him. And what makes this especially interesting is that what's her first name again? Nancy. Nancy Compton, not Crampton Brophy. Sorry, it's a very like romance authory name. She has a good name for a sort of like old school romance authory name.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, she had purchased a ghost gun assembly kit, and from what I understand, she was unable to actually assemble it herself because she didn't have the technical know-how.
Well, what is a ghost gun?
So this is apparently parts to a gun that you can purchase like either online or like at a gun show and assemble yourself. And the defense is claiming that she had purchased it as research. And I think it's considered a ghost gun because it's like it's harder to trace because it's like you're buying the disparate parts of a gun and then assembling it yourself.
Oh, I see. It sounds like that didn't work in this particular case.
No. So because she also bought another gun at a gun show, and the prosecution is saying that she swapped out a different part in that gun, which she then used in the murder. In order to make it harder to trace, like forensically trace the like the bullet, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like she replaced the barrel of this 9mm gun and with the ghost parts in order to make it harder to trace.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that Crampton Brophy wrote an essay a number of years back entitled "How to Murder Your Husband."
Oh.
Which I have here.
Okay, of course. Are we going to have a reading?
We are. This was not easy to find, though it was linked in the article. I couldn't access it. It's from an archive, but I couldn't access it without turning on a VPN, which is quite interesting. Like it wouldn't resolve properly because of the old SSL certificate that the site was using. So I had to turn on a VPN in order to get access to this archive.
Also, it's now used as evidence in a criminal case. So
I suppose so, because this was originally published on a WordPress site called C. Jane Publish, with a subtitled heading here: "Friends Embarking on a Creative Journey." And so, yeah, this is "How to Murder Your Husband" by Nancy Brophy. As a romantic suspense writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about murder and, consequently, about police procedure. After all, if the murder is supposed to set me free, I certainly don't want to spend any time in jail. And let me say clearly for the record, I don't like jumpsuits and orange isn't my color. Motives. 1. Financial, and in parentheses, this is big. Divorce is expensive, and do you really want to split your possessions? Or if you married for money, aren't you entitled to all of it? The drawback is the police aren't stupid. They are looking at you first, so you have to be organized, ruthless, and very clever. Husbands have disappeared from cruise ships before. Why not yours? 2. Lying, cheating bastard. Deception of any sort. This is a crime of passion. In anger, you bash his head in or stab him with a kitchen knife. Most of the time, there is a trail that leads directly to you. Each type of murder leaves clues. A crime of passion does not look like a stranger was involved. And who is left to clean the blood from your carpeting? 3. Fell in love with someone else. Usually financial is also involved here. Let's say your church frowns on divorce. You need to be a widow so you won't fall out of favor with your religion. At this point, I should mention that it helps if you aren't too burdened by the 10 Commandments. 4. Abuser. This one is tough. Anyone can claim abuse. Okay, all right. What is abuse? To a teenager, it might look different than to a spouse. As a motivation, this reason usually comes up after you've been arrested. Not a lot of abused wives dial 911 upon burning down the house with their husband in it. 5. It's your profession. Now we're talking. You already possess both skill and knowledge. You have the moral ambiguity necessary to carry it off. Quick hit and you fade from the scene. Get your payment up front from someone else because life insurance probably won't send a check. That's an interesting line. Options to consider.
Oh, there's more. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Guns. Loud, messy, requires some skill. If it takes 10 shots for the sucker to die, either you have terrible aim or he's on drugs. Knives. Really personal and up close. Blood everywhere. Ew. Garrote. How much upper body strength does it require to strangle a person? Random heavy piece of equipment. Usually this involves hitting someone hard with the baseball bat or the pipe wrench you just happen to have in your hand. Poison. Considered a woman's weapon, arsenic is easy to obtain. Worse, easy to trace. It takes a month or 2 to kill someone. Plus, they are sick the entire time. Who wants to hang out with a sick husband? Knowledge of pharmaceuticals will be handy. Availability will be even better. A word of caution, watch out for poisons found in nature. They are not a sure thing. Too little? Too much? Your mother always told you to marry a doctor. Now you know why. Hiring a hitman. Do you know a hitman? Neither do I. And an amazing number of hitmen rat you out to the police or blackmail you later. Hiring a lover. Never a good idea. The husband dies and the wife gets the money. The lover doesn't always win in this scenario. Sometimes he, too, finds himself facing a loaded gun. I find it is easier to wish people dead than to actually kill them. I don't want to worry about blood and brains splattered on my walls. And really, I'm not good at remembering lies. But the thing I know about murder is that every one of us have it in him/her when pushed far enough. What constitutes a good romantic suspense in the wise? What happened that forced a person into this situation? How will they justify this action? By the way, he needed killing is not a legal defense. Can they keep a secret? A confidence whispered in the dark is no longer a secret. What if killing didn't produce the right results? Would they do it again? Could they do it again? What if they liked it? Whoa, there's an idea for a new story.
the investigators, like, interrogating this person, and then she's like, he needed killing.
He needed killing.
So this is an interesting article. I think there's a lot of detail here, and it's pretty well written, if I do say so. I think the issue and the reason that this piece didn't really take off when it was first written is that where's her credibility, right? Like they always say write what you know, and if you're writing like an essay or a how-to, you should have some expertise on the subject matter,
right?
So I think that's what was initially missing from this story. But I think now, after everything we know, I think this story is a lot more valuable.
There are some comments on the piece.
Okay.
Some of them are concerning, but on the whole, I just think this is a bunch of ladies having some fun. This one, really, who hasn't had the stray thought about murdering a spouse or lover? It's not the big things like cheating or abusing. For me, it's all the little things. Every time he leaves the toilet seat up, when he drinks too much and thinks he's cute grabbing your ass or boobs in public.
Classic.
When he thinks he's oh so clever for throwing you off the raft into the cold water. When the swearing coming from the office gets so loud you can't possibly read your romance novel and get carried away. Not that my DH does any of this. No, he's way too scared that I'll actually carry out my threat of killing him, smiley face.
So he's yelling at me so much, he's preventing me from reading my Nancy Crampton novel.
But it's not the abusing. It's not like the abuse, but it's things like whenever he grabs my ass in public, or whenever he throws me into the river, or whenever he's really drunk and loud and swears a lot around the house.
It's like every other weekend he's throwing me into the river. Every time.
But it's not the abuse.
No.
This next one says, I'm calling Dan to make sure he's all right, which is incredibly prescient 12 years later, because this was published in 2011.
Oh, is Dan the...
Dan is her husband.
Oh, no.
Former husband.
Man, it's dark.
This one, I love the picture of the women with the knife behind her back. I always thought I'd be a knife girl. I love how your mind works, lady. If I ever need to camouflage motive, I'm coming straight to you, smiley face. There's a lot of smiley faces. Oh my gosh, Nancy, I just love your mind. You're so wickedly ornery. I think this should be your next book, smiley face.
I mean, I like that this comment section is a safe space, you know? Just a way to get your ideas out there and sort of have some camaraderie with your fellow peers.
You know, it's about building a community, you know? Did you watch the Batman?
Well, I started to last night. I had the intention to. And then I looked at that runtime.
Sure. Okay.
A nice 3 hours, and then I started up the film. I was like 10 minutes in, and he you know, he's doing his low Batman voice, the voiceover, and he's like, "I am the Shadow," and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this.
Okay. Well, anyway.
So yeah, the long story short there, I didn't. But what does that have to do with this story?
Well, I guess you didn't get there, so it doesn't really matter. But building a community of like-minded individuals that want to commit the same crimes that you do is what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay.
And then this last comment here. A few years back, I was reading a book about poisons, and then I had a book called How to Murder Your Mother-in-Law, which was fiction, by the way. My husband walked on eggshells for months afterwards. LOL. I love writing a mystery where I get to virtually kill my enemies. And then it's a :D kind of face. So yeah, just a bunch of ladies having fun, shooting the shit, shooting their husbands. It's a good time.
Do you think and the prospect of jail time might make this a little bit difficult, but do you think we should expect a sequel essay from
I think it depends on if she gets paper in prison. If they give her paper. Yeah, because it seems like she did it just based on the fact that she did this shit with guns and the life insurance thing. That's the biggest giveaway is the life insurance thing.
So does purchasing life insurance actually put yourself more at risk?
I think so. So they apparently were having some money problems. They only had a few $1,000s like in their shared bank accounts. Her writing career had stalled in recent years. So yeah, I think there was something about they were potentially losing their house. So they seem to be having some money problems, and she was going to where's the thing about how much she was going to gain with the life insurance? Let's see, where'd it go? I think it was something like 700,000.
Yeah, so then that's probably worth it.
Yeah. So. And at the same time, like, as a writer, like your search history is always going to look, pretty fucked up. Like there's always the cliche of like writers always looking up, like, does acid actually, destroy a body? Like things like that.
Can you imagine the search history of Otessa Moshfegh?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
all the research.
So, yeah, but it's like how many authors are actually buying gun parts and then swapping out the barrels of, functioning pistols. So,
Well, she's a hands-on learner, she needs the sort of, she needs to do a real deep dive into her subject matter.
Yeah, I just like how the defense is like, well, she bought it, but she didn't have the technical know-how to assemble the gun. But then she was able to swap out the barrel in the other gun.
And she'd also written a step-by-step essay on how to commit murder.
So, seems like she's going away for a little bit. Yeah. 27 years of marriage. Just like that. Oh, damn. I think we have a movie to talk about.
We do have a movie to talk about, but before that, did you have anything to say about the Batman? Because I don't think it's going to happen for me. So you might as well just speak freely, if you want to talk about it.
Sure. Let me just quickly hit a button.
That's beautiful cinema.
Fantastic. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the Pattinson Batman. Interpretation. Pattinson, yeah.
Which is better, Pattinson or Patman?
I think they both kind of blow, to be honest.
Oh, all right. Well, we can move on. Continue.
Yeah, I do think the length was a bit of an issue. I feel like a lot that could have been trimmed from it. But I did enjoy this interpretation of the sort of and this adaptation. It was kind of an adaptation of Long Halloween-ish / Year Zero, like starting like at the beginning of Year Zero.
I did get the Long Halloween from watching the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, they kind of do it. They just kind of just the fact that it starts on Halloween. It was just kind of a good way to like. The movie is more of a crime thriller than most other Batman movies have been, like even the Nolan stuff, which I appreciated. And you just the way that you could see like the crime element operating in this city, like the way all these different characters and factions are interacting.
So is this more like Detective Comics rather than like mainline Batman?
Yeah, I would say so. Even though Detective Comics, I guess in the last, I don't know, 15 years has always been more Bat Family stuff.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Like actual detective stuff. But I do know what you mean. I also just appreciated how it shows like the complete uselessness and stupidity of the police.
Yeah.
Especially in a world where you have a serial killer that's just leaving riddles for the Batman. Like it's like what the fuck are the police gonna do? And then especially whenever they're corrupt as shit. So yeah, I appreciated a lot of that. I feel like it sort of trails off at the end. Like it kind of comes away as like it shows that these systems are busted and wrong. But then it sort of does the superhero thing where it's like it throughout it shows like the Riddler like has such a great point. Like his motive is so strong as a villain. But then it's like, oh no, that's too far. And so then we need to put our faith back into the institutions anyway. Which I have a problem with. Like it's not a proper solution. And so I would be very curious to see where another one goes. Yeah, that's about it. I really like I appreciated how they sort of approach the like white terror aspect of it though. That I thought that was handled really well, and how these like fringe communities can just develop online, like basically under everybody's nose.
So it's sounds like it's tuned into what like domestic terrorism looks like in America currently, right?
Yeah. So I thought that was handled pretty well.
That's cool.
I just think that its solutions to anything are not like this was very much not a superhero movie until the last 15 minutes where it turns into a superhero movie, which was kind of a bummer.
Because that just undermines everything they had built up to that point, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's not a superhero movie in the way where it's like rah save the day, but it's just more like, well, we have to put our faith back into these same institutions that caused all this in the first place.
Right.
So that is what I just mostly have a problem with.
Yeah, that's sort of like the mentality of like, well, this stuff is broken, but it's the best we've got. So why not look, why look to change it? That's the mentality that really gets in the way of like in the real world of like any actual change, right?
Right. Yeah. And like some of the best Batman stories were like Cataclysm, and Zero Year kind of touched on this a little bit, but like Cataclysm, where Gotham is shut off from the world completely and the city is fucking destroyed and there are no institutions left. The police don't exist anymore. The government doesn't exist anymore. And the city is carved up into a bunch of gangland territories. And all you have left are like people working together. Like Batman is not working for the cops anymore. Like he's on his own. He can't even really communicate with the rest of the Bat family. And you just have to do like small scale operations in order to work with people, like in general. And like those are some of the best Batman stories. And if they had, like, maybe you can get that in like the way they set up the ending of this, but I don't really see that happening. Like, especially like in the closing, like, sort of narration, it's like, well, the National Guard's coming. It's like, that's not. That's not gonna help. That's not gonna help.
No,
that's not gonna help.
Although you describing Cataclysm makes me want to read Cataclysm. Sounds good.
Cataclysm is so good. It's long, but it's like it's so good. So yeah, I have some problems with it, just like philosophically, but I did enjoy it for the most part. And it was also, like, on a technical level, it just also nice to watch like an action-oriented movie where the sound was balanced properly.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, hey, I could actually hear the dialogue over explosions and shit. And the explosions are not, like, louder than, like, literally everything else. Like, it was actually balanced properly.
It's like, we know you're watching this at home on your TV, but we've still mixed it for a movie theater anyway.
Yeah. So, I really appreciated that. I did not have to constantly grab my remote and put the volume up and down depending on what was going on in the scene.
That's what I found so funny about. I haven't seen Tenet, the latest Christopher Nolan.
He's the worst with that shit.
Yeah, because it's so funny because he had that whole crusade about how this movie needs to be seen in theaters, right? Back when the pandemic first was beginning, and then when it finally did come out, there were people complaining that they couldn't understand the dialogue at all in the theater. So
that was the same thing with The Dark Knight, which is why they did the bizarre Bane voice. So you could hear it over everything. So yeah, Nolan does not know how to do sound, like for an actual, like, person in the audience. Like, maybe it works for him, like he can hear shit.
Yeah,
but it does not work for the average person.
So bizarre.
But yeah, anyway, I think it's worth a watch, but I do think they could have easily chopped out.
I don't know. I think I'm at a point with, like, Marvel and DC where I'm like, I'm losing, like, interest in all of it.
Oh yeah, me too. I did not, rush to see this, but I was like, oh, hey, it's finally accessible.
Yeah. I mean, you've read a lot more Batman than I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that I'm somewhat interested in that's coming out is the Miss Marvel TV series. And that's mainly because it takes place in New Jersey. But outside of that, like, I've kind of had enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we do have we do have a movie for this week. As advertised, we're talking about The Souvenir Part 2. If you missed it, we had a conversation about The Souvenir last week. A movie that I love very much and you kind of struggled with. But I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about Part 2, because as I was watching it, like, I was, like, feeling like the movie was almost addressing our conversation directly in parts, because it was very self-aware of, like, some of the reactions to the first movie, because I do think that your problems with it fell in line with, like, the larger, like, criticism of the movie, which is just not really understanding the core relationship. And this movie, like, addressed that directly.
Yeah.
Which I thought was brilliant. But so what did you think about this one?
It was a lot better.
Okay.
Mostly because what's-his-face wasn't in it until the very end, where I did, unfortunately, roll my eyes.
Okay.
When I heard his voiceover.
But that,
I was like, oh, God.
But that whole sequence was something else, though. That sort of, like, surreal dream / theater thing that was going on.
Yeah.
Almost reminded me in parts of, like, Lynch.
Yeah, I did want to avoid the comparison.
No, but it's right there. And, like, I don't know, like, there was something to that. I just thought it was so good. But anyway, so yeah, what did you think about this, like, as a whole?
Yeah, I did appreciate the fact that it addressed, like, head on, although without providing any answers, which was basically the point. Like how this relationship didn't make any sense, and, like, what was in it for her. And, sort of the things that we talked about last week, because there are some characters, like the characters that are meant to be playing the two in her adaptation within the movie. Okay, wait. So I have to explain it then, because okay.
Yeah, there's like 3 different layers to this film.
All right. So in this movie, the character is making a movie that is basically the Souvenir Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, yeah. So,
and then the other layer there is that the main character of this film is based on the actual director of the movie's life.
Of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the movie that she's making, the actors that are playing her and the boyfriends are like, well, I don't get it. Like, what were you feeling? Like, what was this relationship? Like, what was the dynamic? Like, it doesn't make sense. And she doesn't like really give them any answers. And it's like,
well, she tries.
Well,
she's like explaining. She's trying to explain her feelings like left and right. Like she's really like trying to get through to them. But
and of course, it's like, well, like how can you?
Mm-hmm.
How can you unless you like were her and experienced it? It's like this impossible thing.
You know,
that she's trying to translate.
Yeah, you know what was such a cool detail about that is so when they're trying to figure out casting, right, and the filmmaker, her other peer that ends up playing herself, like she's not an actor, she's just another like student filmmaker, but Julie decides to have her play the lead because she comes to Julie with this person. She's like, I saw this guy act on stage a couple weeks ago, and I don't know how to describe it, but there was something special about his performance, and I don't really know how to put it into words, but I think he's perfect for this role. And doesn't that just like speak directly to her inability to describe what she loved about Anthony, right? So it's like in that moment she decided that this person needs to play the lead alongside of him, because that's like that mirrors her own relationship with Anthony, right?
Yeah, I guess, but then that's also like anybody could say that about anybody else, you know? Like oh, I don't know how to describe it, but it was such and such. Like, you know, like it like I didn't really pick that up from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Maybe that was just like another moment where it was hard to read a lot of these conversations.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. How did you feel about the guy from the I keep saying the IT club, but that's not the name of the show. It's the IT Squad. What was the name of that show?
The IT Crowd? No.
That's it.
Is
that's
it?
it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was in the first movie.
And he's in the second.
And he's even more insufferable and pretentious this time around. However, as much as you want to like roll your eyes at that character, the final thing that he said to her was like, because he just talks in a way that's like so, like, how would you describe the way that he talks?
He talks like he is like this auteur from the 70s.
Yeah, that's it. Like he just like knows better than everybody around him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's on a different level in his mind. However, the final thing that he says to her when she asks him a question about Anthony and like whether he was actually working in the job that he said he was, and basically he just says to her bluntly like he was a junkie, move on. Like that was the exact thing that she needed to hear in that moment. Which like everything that this character set up until that point was just like purposely insufferable, but he was like the one person that could just tell it to her straight in that moment, and I thought that was really smart.
Yeah.
Why? What were you going to say about that character?
Well, it was just kind of like his only purpose was as a plot device. Weirdly, like he's like the only character that is there as a plot device.
That's true. Yeah,
because he's the one that tells her to make a memorial, which makes her make the film.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, he's just kind of there as like this. I don't know, like dichotomy of what a filmmaker could be, like this egotistical, like comparison to what a filmmaker could become, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess he also like plays into the horrors that you can experience at film school, right?
Yeah.
And the sort of like personalities that you could be dealing with there. But yeah, no, you're right. He definitely is the closest thing to like a plot device for sure. It was
just weird. In the first one, I had no idea that he was a filmmaker. Did you like pick that up at all?
I didn't know. No, I knew that he was like an artist in some
regard.
Just from the vibe. Just from the, yeah, but I didn't like, is he also a student at the same school that she goes to?
I didn't think so, because they were like interviewing him like about the project or whatever.
Yeah, that was all kind of unclear to me why she was like working on his project to begin with.
I don't think she was. I think she was just kind of hanging out.
Oh, she was just like giving her opinion. She was watching the edit of it and giving her opinion.
Yeah.
That was the extent of it. Okay. Yeah.
Because that other girl, the other girl she was with was like interviewing him about it. And then he's like, oh, I can't do this right now. He was like being like the diva thing.
Right.
So like he was like in the industry or whatever.
Yeah. Because when we first saw him, we knew him through Anthony, right? Because he's friends with him, and I that's really all we knew. Yeah.
So it was just weird that he was also a filmmaker, and like that was never addressed whenever she was in film school.
It's true. Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of weird. But then it's like, well, how did everybody know this dude that just bummed around? Because that other guy that she meets that is also being interviewed, that actor, also knew him.
Well, no, I think everybody at her school knew him through her, or at least knew about him, and so I think that was also the case with this guy, because he was also involved with like their projects and stuff. So I was just assuming that everybody kind of knew him through her because they had been in a relationship for the better part of like a year, right?
I thought she was like keeping him hidden though, because he was like,
I don't know,
a mess. Because there was the scene in the first movie where she was telling that friend of hers, like, where he was like, hey, like, what's been your deal for a while? Like, you haven't been coming to school. And he had and like, he was like the closest to her, and he had like no idea about him.
Well, did he have no idea about him or his problems, right? Because that's something that he was trying to hide from everybody.
It seemed like he had no idea, because she's like, I've been in a bad relationship for a year or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a little bit, that's all a little bit. The sort of like acquaintances and how everybody knows each other, it's a little bit unclear. Yeah, it's true.
It was just like, yeah, like, how does everybody know this fucking dude? Like, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I almost died in like during her film, the sequence where she's wearing the mask of him. I was like, oh my God, look at that fucking dude. Like, this was the guy. You're like the sad tragedy in face, like he's melting. It's like this was the guy. Like, really?
Yeah, so it sounds like you still haven't bought in.
No,
like at all.
Like, no, because she doesn't provide any answers, and that's whatever. It's like I still don't get it, and maybe that's the point, is that you're not going to get it. But it's like I just hated that guy.
Okay.
Because he was so nothing. There was nothing to him.
Yeah, so
there was nothing to latch onto.
That's tough because when it comes to what I think is the best thing about this movie, which is it's sort of like examination of like the grieving process, and just like, you know, her attempts to like work through that and like still be productive and move forward, essentially, because that's what this movie is about. Really, it's about her like the immediate aftermath of his death, and her mourning him and just like grappling with that, and then also trying to move forward and like incorporating it into her art and everything, right? But I guess if you're still hung up on his whole thing and why she loved him to begin with, then that all would probably fall flat too.
Yeah, it's like the movie calls him like charming and manipulative, and I didn't see that at all. Where was the charm? Where was any of it? It was just this fucking guy. Like the manipulative thing, fine. That's like, you know, she was enthralled by him for whatever reason, and he did things to fuck up her life. I totally got that. But like, he was so nothing. He was empty. There was no charisma there. I just didn't understand it. I feel the same way that her mom did, where she's like asking her mom, she's like, how'd you feel when he died? And her mom like has nothing to say.
Yeah, she was basically just like, I felt for you.
Yeah, I felt bad for you.
Yeah.
Because you loved him. And she's like, oh, how'd you feel when you met him? It's like, you liked him. And I was like, yeah. And then she's like, well, did you like him because I liked him? She's like, well, yeah. Like, what am I going to say? Like, because he was nothing. He was this sad sack, this weirdo, and then he happened to be on drugs. Like, it was like it was just a separate. It was like, you know, that stupid duster. I can't get over that duster.
I mean, I was looking on Letterboxd. I think one of the top like Letterboxd reviews of this movie was like acknowledging the criticism, everything you're talking about, and then they were like, well, but also it just is like that sometimes for a person.
I get that. No, I get that.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is supposed to be showing, is that it didn't matter what other people understood or can't understand about the relationship. It's like, it happened. Right? That was what she felt anyway.
Yeah.
Even if other people couldn't see it or still can't see it. So I think this achieves what the first one couldn't, which was, even though I can't understand why she felt that way about this fucking slug of a man.
Yeah.
I can still understand her process, her struggle, her grief, and what she's doing now to get past it.
Yeah, like the way this whole
in a way that I couldn't in the first one.
Yeah, exactly. The way this whole movie's constructed, I thought was so brilliant. Because like you do have that sort of second, you have the movie within a movie, which I know you said that is another thing you don't like, but you have that, and it's like so purposeful because it is exploring that sort of disconnect, because you have the actors trying to understand her thoughts and feelings and her inability to get through. And then it's also her just working through everything with art, right? Which is like so much of what this pair of movies is about. I don't know. I love the whole thing. Like I just thought it was so good. And then the scenes with the therapist, I wish there was more of that actually. Because there were a couple of really great scenes with her therapist that were so short, but they were like so like raw and just like insightful for what they were. And then of course you have that another like I love the final. I guess we talked about this last week. There were almost 2 final shots in the first Souvenir, but here you have this final scene where it gets back to that like meta aspect of this and like the story within a story, and then also the sort of like autobiographical nature of it, where it's like this house party celebrating like an accomplishment that Julie has done, like something like wrapped on a film or whatever. And she's got like her friends over, and it's sort of like, it's almost like
I just thought it was her birthday.
Oh, was it her birthday? Okay.
Yeah, because they said something about turning 30.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so it was her birthday, and it was sort of like a bookend, right? Because the first Souvenir started out with a very similar type of like get together
where she met Bozo.
Yeah, that is where she met him. Yeah. But then the camera sort of like zooms out and you're on a soundstage and it's a set and there's a film crew, and that whole like get together is happening inside of the same like set that we saw Julie's film being filmed on. So that I thought that was such a great final scene.
Yeah, it worked. You're going to hate me because Evangelion did it first.
Oh, did it? Yeah. Well, I mean, that just tells you, because I never finished that whole thing. So, no, that's cool. I mean, that's a classic, right? So,
yeah,
it's certainly not the first thing to do this type of storytelling.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Evangelion didn't actually do it first, but I'm just saying, yeah, Evangelion did it.
Now, was this in like the original series, or was this one of the more recent movies that you watched?
It was in one of the recent movies. I think I actually mentioned it before whenever I was talking about the movies, but yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should get back into that, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no, it did work. It was very good.
Yeah, I don't want to like ramble on forever about this. I really was impressed with this movie. I thought it just like nailed everything it was going for. And I do think that's in part because I was just like willing to buy into that relationship from the outset.
Mm-hmm. I mean that helps a lot.
Yeah. Although I'll like buy into a lot of shit in films. That just doesn't seem to be a problem for me, but
except apparently Robert Pattinson's Batman voice.
No, it wasn't even that. Like, it's just
I know, I'm just joking.
With Batman especially, there've just been so many like reboots and interpretations. I feel like I've just seen it all,
Yeah.
And that's like not even anything against this new one. I'm sure it's good. Like, it sounds solid. It sounds decent from everything you said about it. But I just wasn't up for it last night.
No, yeah, it's fine. It's another fucking Batman, like.
Yeah, no, I think when I texted you the other day about it, I had just finished watching this movie. I just finished watching The Souvenir. I'm like, that's beautiful cinema. I'll watch anything. Yeah. I'll watch. Yeah. I was like manic. I'll watch any movie. The world is wonderful. No, but yeah, I don't want to go on forever. I did really, really like this one. So yeah, that's, unless you have anything else to add, that's The Souvenir, our 2-week discussion. If anybody's listening to this and they haven't seen these movies, I imagine it's incomprehensible to listen to this, which I apologize for. But
I think we did an okay job of plot.
Yeah,
I mean, this one's just complicated because there's movies within movies within movies.
It's true, yeah.
But that's not our fault.
Well, it is, because I mean, we do have control over which movies we choose to talk about.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
which, speaking of, you in the notes here, you have a choice for next week.
I do.
I'm excited.
Yeah, because it was a couple weeks back. You said that the selections that you want to have for this segment. you'd like them to be sort of topical and maybe have something going for them, whether it's like maybe a new release or just maybe talking about something relevant. And so I came across something, and maybe you've heard of this one, maybe you haven't. It's called The Scary of 61st.
I have not heard of this.
Okay. It's a horror movie. It's available on Shudder, but it's probably also on VOD.
Perfect. I have Shudder.
Okay, good. And it's written and directed by one of the co-hosts of the Red Scare podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's sort of it started out as a leftist kind of thing, like sort of like the Chapo, whatever, and like that kind of thing. But then they've kind of gone off the rails from that. I don't know what they're up to now. I never really listened to it, but anyway. And so it's directed by Dasha Nekrasova, who you might know as what's the name of the character? Oh, she plays Comfrey in Succession. Comfrey, the assistant that what's his face has the hots for. Cousin Greg.
Is this like season 3? Because I ended up not watching much of season 3.
Yeah.
Oh, so then I'm not too sure. So then, but regardless, that's interesting.
Yeah. So this is a horror film. And I don't know how much I want to say.
Have you seen it already?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm down. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So
that's what's the title again? Okay, Scary of 61st.
Yeah. So yeah, it's available on Shudder. We'll see. I feel like this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, Shudder just like quietly comes out with some pretty interesting horror films every couple months.
Yeah.
Like they've definitely gotten more into like, I guess like purchasing like new movies and having them like exclusively, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Awesome.
I did want to touch on a little bit of Final Fantasy bullshit. So. So I feel like I've mentioned this sort of housing situation in Final Fantasy XIV before. So people our age, we can't afford housing whatsoever. Like,
no,
we're never gonna own homes. And we can't even own them in Final Fantasy XIV, at least a lot of us. So within this new patch, there's supposed to be an overhaul of the housing system to a lottery. And this was a change from the old system, which was, it was called first come, first serve, but that was really not the case. It was really based on RNG because houses were on a timer, an invisible 24-hour timer, and the only way to know if a house was available to purchase would be to constantly click on the house within a 24-hour period and hope you clicked on it the second it became available.
Yikes.
Yeah, so people would literally camp out houses for 24-hour periods. A lot of people would set up bots in order to constantly click the house in order to potentially purchase it. So that was the old system. The new system is supposed to be a lottery where you see a house is available, you put in a bid for the price, you could see how many bids there are, and then within a couple days, the lotto happens and somebody will win, and then that person has like 48 hours to claim the house. That was the way it was supposed to work. And this was in the addition of new housing areas and some redistricting of housing areas within the game. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous when you have to actually say it out loud. Between personal homes and FC or guild homes in the game. There's another problem with that, but the main issue here is that so there's this first lotto period after this changeover. So people put in bids for houses and we're awaiting the results. The results come in. Nobody won the houses. And this was especially weird because some people were the only bidders on plots of land. So they lost against... Nobody. And the result that would display would say winning lotto number 0. And then afterwards, the results would say there were no participants in this lottery, despite the fact that people paid millions to purchase the lotto ticket. Then people could take out their lotto ticket that they paid for. So the funds weren't lost, but it said that they didn't participate, even though they just got their money back. So this quickly led to speculation that there was a bug that Square Enix had accidentally included a ticket 0 into all the results, like the table of the dice roll of the lotto, basically. And so if you were the only one that bid on a house, you had a 50-50 shot of getting that house against an imaginary number 0. This was the theory that people were going with because everybody was losing to number 0.
I mean, is this not just like a system that just doesn't work properly? Like, it
was, so we had no information.
Yeah.
So this is the first time this system was supposed to happen.
Right.
But this was the current theory was that, oh God, they actually included the number 0 in the lotto. And so the results are fucked. So because the number 0s are winning instead of an actual person. Because then it quickly found out that some people were winning the houses. So those people had beaten the odds and won against 0. Then Square actually came out and said that no, just the result display is wrong. So on the back end, the lottery did happen and take place. It's just not displaying properly. And so this is just a gigantic clusterfuck because housing is like the biggest deal in the game for a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, it really is. Because the way that it works is that housing is physically located in game. So you have an actual address that people can go to. It's not instance based like a lot of games where like you go to one portal and everybody's house is located on that portal, but you just can't see it. So like you can go and see people's actual houses in neighborhoods within the game, depending on the server. So it's actual not physical. It's like physical digital real estate. So there are limited spots.
Is this the metaverse?
This is the metaverse. It actually exists. MMOs have been doing this shit for 30 years.
Yeah.
So people care very deeply about the housing because most people don't have a house. There's actually there's limited housing in the game. And a lot of people want them to move to instance housing so everybody could have a house. Other people say no, they like the appeal of being able to see their neighbors' houses converge in physical locations in the game, blah, 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 blah.
Houselessness is just, it's necessary to show that people need to work harder.
See, yeah, this is the thing, is that in the game, there's basically nothing to do with your money except for save up for a house. Like, that's basically all you do with money. But the fact that the houses are limited makes it very difficult for people to do that. It's pretty screwed up, but it is the way it is.
Yeah, no, I was referring to why homelessness is a thing in the US.
Yeah.
It's designed specifically to just motivate people. Homelessness does not have to be a thing. It can be solved very easily.
Not whatsoever.
Yeah.
And, well, like, as dumb as it is, like, it could be solved in this game very easily, too. If they did instance housing, and then it's unlimited, right? But technically there already is instance housing. There are apartments, which are, you get an instance room, right? And then you could also have rooms in an FC house, which are basically just apartments that exist in the FC house. So there are other options, but of course everybody wants a house. So people already didn't like the old system. A lot of people didn't want the lotto system in the first place. They thought that they had more control over it if they stood at the placard for 24 hours.
Oh my God.
Clicking on it to be able to get their house.
That's
they
just
didn't like
torture.
the randomness. They didn't like the randomness of the lotto. And so now the issue is that they're now working through the log results of the lotto and trying to implement them. They're like posting updates every couple days of like their progress on fixing the error. And they're begging people that actually have one to claim their houses. Otherwise, they have the potential to lose them whenever they implement the results of the lottos. But yeah, it's a clusterfuck because people that thought they lost pulled their money out of the bids because it's like, oh, well, I fucking lost, so I want my money back.
Yeah.
So they need to figure out what they're going to do, if they're just going to yank money out of people's pockets or what's going to happen there. But they said they're not going to do a reroll and they're not going to roll back the servers in any way whatsoever. The good thing is that they said that the housing servers that contain all this information are separate from the regular game servers. So this won't impact the game. in like the main game in any way, especially because the ultimate raid is coming on Tuesday. And if they had to do anything to the ultimate raid because of housing, there would be an even bigger riot. But as somebody that does have a house in game, I got very lucky that I played during a down period of the game, and there was just a house sitting there that I could just click on and buy and not have to wait a 24-hour period. I think this is fucking hilarious.
I mean, I think there's a very practical solution to this whole problem,
which is
landlords. No, but yeah, it sounds like a mess. But they should have it fixed up, right, in the near future. Yeah,
they're gonna fix it. But it's just they fuck up the housing thing like so much. This is like the biggest fuck up the game has had in a long time. And I just think I find it really funny.
Yeah, because you're coming from a place of privilege where you are, you have a place to live.
Yeah. Just seeing everybody freak out. And I'm here in my, I have a small house. Okay. I'm not like, I don't have a mansion. All right. I'm fine with my small little house.
You have what you need.
I do.
Nothing more.
I don't. Yeah. But yeah, just the way that they fucked it up. And if they would have actually, like, if it would have happened the way that people originally thought, where they included the number 0 in the roles, that would have been the fucking most hilarious thing ever to fuck up that badly. It's still bad that this made it to the live game in the first place. Like, I don't know how it got through.
Yeah, right.
Like this is the first implementation of this system. But now the problem is that now that it's going to function, like, and people know it's going to function, the next lotto period. So now the lotto is closed, even though there are houses available because it's not fixed yet. So now whenever it's open again, there's going to be an entire mad rush, for the next wave. The other problem is that they did this. The period was open. The first lotto period was open on a weekend. So this was on Saturday. So it was a clusterfuck.
Peak time, right?
Peak time on a weekend. It was nuts. The other issue is that they've, like I said, they redistrict neighborhoods, which is a fucking crazy thing to say.
Those conservatives are at it again.
Yeah, so they redistrict neighborhoods to where there are now 18 FC, you know, that's the guilds, FC wards to 6 personal wards. Wards are neighborhoods, basically. And this is a problem because there are more personal people looking for homes than FCs are looking for homes. There's demand for both. But Square's logic here kind of makes sense because they see FCs as a way for more people to have access to housing. Right, so more people can have access to a FC house than one person owning one home does. Especially because an FC house has more utility, and an FC house lets you have a personal room in it, like just like an apartment does.
Right.
So I think their logic is that if we give more FC housing, then more people will have access to housing in general than personal homes. But as it stands now, there are just FC wards that are completely empty because there's not the demand for those houses that there are for personal ones. We'll see if that changes. I don't think it will. The problem is that they retroactively changed this because before wards were mixed, so you can have an FC house next to a personal house. Now that's not the case. Now they're separated. And so things are all kind of fucked up there, but that's a whole nother can of worms.
Do you think this is now the flagship podcast for the housing market in Final Fantasy XIV?
Maybe. There's a whole black market of house trading. Because you can basically trade FC houses, because you can change ownership of an FC. And so if you make somebody you invite somebody to the FC and make them the leader of the FC, and they give you a huge stack of money, they've just bought the house from you. So you could trade FC houses in a way that you can't trade personal houses.
Interesting.
You kind of used to be able to trade personal houses where somebody would say, "Hey, I'm gonna relinquish this house." And somebody would say, all right, I'll give you however much for it. And so then they would agree on a time that house would become available. And so that person would kind of get first dibs. Like, it wouldn't be guaranteed that they would even get the house, but they would get first dibs to try to get the house, just based on the stupid 24-hour timer.
And then does that person not pay you until after the house is like...
No.
Oh, they have to pay up front.
Mm-hmm.
That's risky.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a whole black market for trading. Now with the lotto, personal houses, I don't think you could trade personal houses. FC houses, you could still trade because you could promote people. But now there's a 30-day restriction on like promoting people to FCs, I think. So now people are doing is they are trading cash like weekly to get around the restriction. So like they're doing like down payments. Mm-hmm. It's fucking nuts. And you can't convert an FC house to a personal house. But anyway.
Was there more to the Moogle this week, or was it just the housing? No,
market? Just the housing. I thought that was just crazy enough to talk about.
Yeah, it's like a game within a game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people want to do it because they throw a ton of housing decoration items at you that you can't use unless you have a house. Like,
is this Final Fantasy or Animal Crossing?
It's similar to Animal Crossing in that way, and it's similar to like The Sims, like the house decorating and shit like that.
It sounds cool.
So it is, and that's why a lot of people want to do it. Especially because you own like a piece of the game in that way. So
would you be a fan of instanced housing that lets everybody participate?
Honestly, I think it like, and this is gonna sound like I have a bias because I do have a house, but honestly, I don't care that I have a house or not. Like, I think it's kind of lame, like instance housing. Like, because I've played other MMOs that have like
give it to somebody who actually would appreciate it.
That's not what I meant by I don't care that I have a house. Oh. I mean that like I don't care that I have a house in relation to instance or non.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like I've played MMOs that have instance housing, like RuneScape has instance housing, Guild Wars has instance housing, and it's just kind of lame because like everybody goes to the same exact thing and then they have to like teleport into their house, and it's just like, okay. Like in 14 you can go to a neighborhood and see like everybody's like outside, like the way they've decorated their house.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it's so limited. Right.
Ideally everybody would be able to get one, but like there are just too many players. If there was a way to make more instance neighborhoods, maybe smaller scale in a way that would maybe alleviate it. Mm-hmm. Or if people are maybe given the option to have an instance house instead.
You can sort of have both going. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that just increase the demand for non-instance housing? I don't know. So yeah, ideally everybody would be able to have a house, right? Like it's a game. You should be able to play it.
This should be the platform that you run on in the next Final Fantasy election.
Yeah. And so the other thing is that there's a new feature coming out called Island Sanctuary. And we still don't know a whole lot about it, but it's...
I mean, if that's not Animal Crossing, I don't know what is.
Exactly. So what we think of it is supposed to be some kind of Animal Crossing / Harvest Moon style gameplay. And they're still mum on details about it, but it's supposed to be... like they originally build it as a location where you can have all your minions, which are just your little pets that you collect, can just run around freely, because normally you can only have one out at a time. So they can all just run around. You can see all the things that you've collected, and so there's supposed to be like some like casual activities. And so a lot of people are hoping, and we still don't know, and it's supposed to be coming out this expansion after it was delayed from last expansion, to like alleviate some of that, housing demand if people have their island sanctuary, because this is a feature that would be open to everyone, because this will be instanced. This will alleviate some housing demand, because they've said it's not a replacement for housing, but it'll have some form of decorating in some capacity. So whether that you can actually use the same housing items or something else, they've still been light on details, and it's actually really frustrating because we really don't know what this gameplay is going to be. But it like visually looks like some kind of Animal Crossing style thing.
Do you think the minions will make you feel guilt and shame for not visiting them for like a couple of weeks?
Oh, probably. Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. They've been teasing this for so long that it was actually one of the features that I was showing to my sister to get her to stick with the game.
Oh, wow.
So that's how long ago they've been teasing that. And we still don't actually know what the fuck it actually is.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like a big deal.
It is. And we still don't, I think it's supposed to be coming in like 6.3, which will be like next fucking year. At this point. So like we still don't know.
Yeah.
There's no fucking idea. But anyway, what did I want to talk about next? Oh, I had a philosophical question for you.
Oh, great. Do another one of these.
Yeah, I think the last time was whenever I asked if my computer was still my computer in a Ship of Theseus situation. So how does one go about throwing out a garbage can?
Oh, wow. Man. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know if you can. I mean, the thing is, like, you'd have to put it inside of another type of garbage container. But at that point, is it a garbage can or is it just garbage?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Do you have an answer?
I don't think I do. That's why I'm posing the quandary.
Well, I mean, we've got movies within movies today. We've got garbage cans within garbage cans. So I think we found Joanna Hogg's next film.
How do you throw out a garbage can?
You delete the file for this recording. I don't know. No, that's interesting. Do you recycle a garbage can? Ideally, because it is plastic, typically, right? So you want to be the responsible citizen of the world. We're recording this on Earth Day, by the way.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, which is funny if you think about it. Like, Earth Day is a thing made up by the species that is destroying the planet.
Well, I consider every day to be Earth Day.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a boo sound. I don't have a boo. Boo.
I just think it's funny because it's like, yeah, we are celebrating this day that we made up about the thing that we're actively destroying.
Yeah. When
you think of it that way, it's kind of bleak. But.
Damn.
But Google has like a fun little header where you can see like the snow caps 20 years ago versus today.
Oh, that's not depressing.
No.
Oh, shit. So yeah, I don't know what to do about my trash can.
I think you need to get inside of the trash can and not come out of it.
Okay, so just become Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, yeah.
Essentially.
I think I could do that.
I think that's the answer.
Okay, yeah.
I wish I had a better one.
If anybody else has suggestions about how I should throw out my garbage can, video at DeadEndRoad.co.
Do you want to provide any context for how this came about, this philosophical question?
All right. So I got a trash can in my room. Right? And one, it's kind of too small, but it's also metal, so it's a metal trash can.
Oh, okay.
And I've had it since college. All right, and it's actually really gross. It's a gross trash can because one of the first times I used it in college, I threw out some soup. And the soup went through the trash bag, and it like got all gross at the bottom of the trash can.
But you're talking about something that happened quite a while ago. Yeah,
I know. But so I think the soup was so acidic, I suppose, that through the years it has worn away and rusted the bottom of the trash can.
What kind of soup?
And it's some kind of Campbell's from a can. And so my trash can is in a depressing state, and I would like to get rid of it and get a better trash can after 10 years.
Well, I'm sorry that I asked. But also that is a valid reason to want to get rid of a trash can. So
yeah, but I don't know the procedure. I don't know how I would go about getting rid of this trash can.
Well, keep us up updated.
Yeah, I gotta do some research. What are we doing?
I have no idea. Nobody's listening at this point anyway.
Nobody's listening.
I mean, I had a couple quick things if we want to.
Okay.
I had some interesting news stories from this week.
Yeah.
Some Taylor Swift news.
Well, of course.
Probably not what you are expecting, but so you can add another accolade to Taylor Swift's resume.
Yeah. Whose writing credits does she have now?
Yeah, no. So like I said, it's not what you would expect. There is a new species of millipede that has been discovered and has been named in Taylor Swift's honor. So it's called the species name. It's the Nanaria swiftae, or vernacularly, it's called the swift twisted claw millipede, and it was discovered by an entomologist named Derek Hennon, a doctor at Virginia Tech. And so this naming after Swift, it's thank you from Hennon to Swift, because her music has, quote, gotten him through some rough times in his life. So this is his way of like honoring Taylor Swift.
I thought it was because Taylor Swift has 1,000 legs.
Well, actually, there is something to that, because according to this NPR story, researchers determined that the millipede named for Swift was a unique species and has special legs. Yeah.
Oh.
Has special. I don't really know what makes the legs special. The article doesn't say, but it has special legs. So
are they clawed? Is that the
well,
thing?
I mean, Taylor Swift has some long legs, you might say. Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know if that means that the millipede shares the sort of length of legs. I'm not sure where I'm even going with this at this point, but just, an interesting story came up. Got a new now. Where do you think this ranks among Taylor Swift's like lifetime accomplishments? Like, you have Grammy wins, right? You have, being a top 10 artist on Spotify. You have, Netflix films, documentaries, and then you have the millipede.
It's Well, I mean, the Netflix shit is probably at the bottom, right?
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Netflix is not going to exist in like another year and a half, so that's gonna be lost media soon. This might be top two.
Top two. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
She's captured the hearts of multiple generations.
Mm-hmm.
Just millions and millions of people around the world, and this is top two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, she received an honorary doctorate this year from I think like NYU or something.
Oh, they hand that out like
so
candy.
This is still
That's
top
nothing.
two.
Yeah, that's not
okay.
I'm not even joking. That's genuinely.
No,
nothing.
I think she might have said once that she wanted one of those, and they were like, okay.
Yeah, like
yeah.
That's nothing.
I mean, it's in like music, so if anybody deserves a doctorate in music, like sure,
Okay, but you have to. Other people have to, do shit like at the school.
Yeah, but like
for
this
a
is
number of years.
like in a job description where it's like you can equate 4 years of experience to a degree. Like you need one or the other. I feel like Taylor Swift has the experience that's equivalent to more than equivalent to the degree, right?
But it's still nothing.
Well, Dr. Swift, that's not nothing.
No.
Well, says you.
If Taylor Swift falls on hard times and puts that on her resume, nah.
I love how this NPR story, the photo is a side by side of a headshot of Taylor and then a close up of the millipede.
Oh, that doesn't look like anything to me. Can't tell the difference.
So yeah, that was our Swift news for the week. There was another thing which I didn't look into too much. I think Drake posted a photo on Instagram of himself and Taylor Swift like hugging and that got the rumor mill churning of whether they've got something that they're working on. This it's coming out soon. We'll have to see. But
okay,
yeah, that's
they're working on finding a new species of beetle.
Oh, Dr. Swift, the entomologist, and Dr. Drake. Yes.
Yeah.
There was another headline from just yesterday, actually. It's breaking news, although by the time this podcast comes out, it will not be breaking. But CNN Plus is shutting down. And this is noteworthy because it launched less than 1 month ago.
Leading the world to say what CNN Plus.
Yes, very much so.
I'm surprised you didn't grab the CNN article about it. Which
of course, they had to report on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of wild. I think they lasted about 1/6 as long as Quibi. So yeah, there's been like a lot of shakeup with leadership at Warner. Like the strategy for them is very much like they're trying to like just like bundle everything together, and like put it all under like the HBO Max umbrella, and which makes total sense. And the launch of CNN Plus is very much like not in line with that, and it's just wild to me that this whole thing got off the ground and it was running, and they made a whole platform and like original content for it, and it's gone within a month.
Who the fuck was going to pay for CNN Plus?
Well, according to the numbers, about 150,000 people. That's their subscriber count, which is not great.
Probably also a free trial, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. And if it was a 1 month free trial, then I don't think anybody actually paid for this.
Yeah.
because like this service lasted the length of a billing cycle. But yeah, so there's obviously a change in direction that they're going in. The leader of this platform has left the company. I
didn't even know that they became Warner Discovery like a week ago.
Yes, with the end result there being that Discovery Plus is going to be grouped in with HBO Max pretty
and
soon.
Parents over the world will rejoice. I know my parents will.
Yeah, a lot of stuff on Discovery.
They watch a lot of stuff on Discovery. And they hate the app. Oh. So if they can use HBO Max, they will be very
there you go. Yeah, so there wasn't much beyond that. I was kind of shocked to see this. The quick turnaround of this whole thing. Because there are like shows lined up and I'm assuming a lot of those will not just like die out entirely. I'm sure they'll transfer some stuff over to like HBO and stuff. But obviously people are getting laid off, which
the thing I saw said that they're gonna have like they can apply for openings throughout.
Right,
CNN.
which essentially means that there's still quite a few layoffs happening. Yeah, so that's that. The other thing I wanted to mention was Coachella. I watched some of the Coachella live streams last weekend. Yeah, I gotta say, like, up until this past weekend, I've never had like FOMO when it comes to like big music festivals or anything. But I was kind of like sad watching this because I actually wanted to. It would be a cool thing to.
Oh, you couldn't pay me
really to
go to that? Yeah, no way.
I mean, obviously it's, massive amount of people, but like from what I saw, like the sets, like the performances and stuff, like it's very well produced.
They
like I watched
fucked up the sound on the main stage.
Wait, did they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Because what I watched on Friday night, I watched Phoebe Bridgers, which is great. And then the next night I watched Japanese Breakfast. Did you see that one? Because I texted you about it.
Yeah.
That was very good. And then on Sunday, I watched, I watched a few things. I watched Ravina, who put out her debut album earlier this year, which is really good. Highly recommend. I watched The Regrets, who put out a new album last week. Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't like the one before it. Their debut, I just listened to like nonstop for like a year after it came out. I love it so much. And then their second album was sort of like this like concept album. It was basically like a love story type thing. And I don't know. You have to be like in the right mindset for it. I wasn't that into it. But this new one, I like.
It's kind of like generic pop for me.
Really?
Which is not what I wanted from them. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's inevitable that bands sort of steer in that direction. Like I've seen it so many times that I almost come to expect it.
But I wanted something more from them if they were going to go that direction. Like, well, it was just kind of.
I mean, I feel like it's still like good lyrically, and like there's still some really catchy stuff on there. I know what you mean though. Like,
yeah,
I can see why.
I put that album on, and it could have been anybody. Like it didn't feel like a Regrets album. It could have been. So I was disappointed by that.
Their performance was really good though.
I'm sure.
Like Lydia Knight is such a great like front person, just like born to be the leader of a band essentially, just like captures your attention immediately for the whole time. But yeah, and then Sunday I watched Maggie Rogers, which like I don't know if like the VODs of these Coachella sets are going to be like put on YouTube, or I don't know what they're going to do with them. I assume they're going to put them up eventually. But if anybody has the chance to watch the Maggie Rogers performance from Coachella, I would highly recommend it because it was incredible. She's one of those artists where, and I feel like this is pretty rare, that her voice is like 10 times better live than it is on her album. And that's like nothing against the album. It's just like it's one of those like things where like she's so much better live. Like the recordings just don't do her justice. Yeah. Have you listened to Maggie Rogers? Okay. No. So she put out her first album back in 2019, and then I follow her on TikTok, and like during the pandemic she was like doing a grad program at Harvard while also making her second album. And so so she just released her first single for the second album, which is incredible. And this was like I think probably her first like live performance in a while. So it felt like very cathartic in that way, as it did for like a while, because this is like one of the first big festivals sined the pandemic started, right? Yeah. So in that way it was like the energy was like,
is that why it was like promoted so insanely? Like I had never seen so much Coachella shit in my life until this year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because there hadn't been one since 2019, so that would make sense for them to push hard for it, right?
Yeah.
And like the live streams are great. Like they were so well produced, and like the sound quality was really good, and like the camera work was great and everything. So quite unforgiving though, like because I like the audio feeds, I guess, were coming directly from the source, right? So like there's no like if you're not like completely on like vocally or whatever, it's gonna pick that up. Like you know what I mean? But like for somebody like Maggie Rogers, that just like elevates the whole thing because she's incredible. But there were a couple, like I tuned in for a couple artists where it's like, oh man, this is not doing you favors right now. But yeah, I would highly recommend that performance. It was stunning. Like the energy that she brings, and then obviously just like the talent and just like her entire band is great.
Yeah, I
and,
did
like,
catch
the whole thing
after the Japanese breakfast set, because I hadn't turned off the stream yet. I don't know if you know the Girl in Red.
I listened to her album all last summer.
Okay, yeah,
like
I figured that would be something you'd be into.
Yeah, I didn't watch her set though because it was getting kind of late.
Yeah, so that was pretty good.
Yeah,
and so that I have to check out the rest of her stuff.
Oh yeah, you definitely should. You definitely should.
Yeah.
I think her album from last year was like her debut, and then she has like an EP or two. Before.
I could tell that like it's very much your shit because it was just like it's very lesbian. Like
yeah, you know, I don't know, like. I don't fully understand that about myself either, but that just I don't know, it just kind of worked out that way. I don't know what to say.
And I'm not sure if she is like a big Nier fan, because the Girl in Red is a character from like the Nier Drakengard series.
Interesting.
Or maybe it's just a coincidence, but I'd be curious to know if she likes Nier.
Yeah, that would be a cool reference.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed that set. But that was like all I saw because it was immediately after Japanese breakfast, and I hadn't turned off the stream yet. And she started with high energy, so I was like, oh, I'll check this out.
Yeah, I didn't realize there's two weekends of it. So like basically everybody's just doing it all over again on this weekend. I think without the live streams though, which just like logistically is interesting because I guess a lot of people live in around California, but not everybody. So I'm sure there's a lot of like accommodations and stuff. Aren't they planning on doing that with the Emo Fire Festival? If that's still
I think
thing
so.
That's happening? Yeah.
That's like what, September or something?
I don't know.
But right. Oh god, that fucking emo thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was happening. That was happening just before the Japanese breakfast. I tuned in a little bit early because the set times were lagging behind a little bit.
Which is weird because the shit was not live.
Really?
It was on a delay.
How do you know? Like, how could you tell?
Because the Japanese breakfast, like some of the shots had a clock on like the backstage. Wow, that was in frame.
But yeah, so that is strange that was happening. Yeah, so it was basically these two DJs that were their thing must be like the emo nights at like venues where everybody just shows up to dance and shit. But this was at like an actual music festival, which I mean, I guess if you're into it, that's cool. But I didn't quite understand why.
Yeah, it's like okay, so you couldn't get any of these acts. So you're gonna have a dude with
and they were very self-aware because they were both wearing t-shirts that were like that said like we're not supposed to be here or whatever. But they did have like they did bring out a couple of quote unquote emo acts that were there. I guess just happened to be at the festival or whether they planned it or not. But one of them was the dude from Plain White T's, and he came out and sang "Hey There, Delilah."
Sure. Yeah.
And the thing about him very much looking like he's in his late 40s now and singing about this girl that he's missing and she'll be done with school soon. And, and also just like that combined with the fact that, I mean, they were a one-hit wonder, right? This is like their only song.
Yeah.
Something was so deeply, like, profoundly sad to me about the whole thing. Which, like, hey, who am I? Because, people were into it. People were cheering them on. Like, you're performing at Coachella. Like, I don't mean to bring you down or anything, but man, there was something about it that's just, like, it's kind of depressing. And I guess that's kind of fits with it being emo.
But it was so weird. It was like they were playing The Killers. And I just remember, like, emo kids didn't listen to The Killers because that was top 40.
I did, though, but I wasn't an emo kid. So.
Yeah, like The Killers were super popular. So it was weird to go from The Killers to then a Taking Back Sunday song. Like, and I know Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you consider them emo?
Taking Back Sunday, yes.
Yeah? Yes. I don't know what the hell I was.
Take Back Sunday had a feud with Brand New.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were emo.
Yeah, just a whole strange thing. My only guess there is that, because I know there were other DJs at Coachella, so I'm guessing and I'm hoping that stage was exclusively DJ sets, and that if you wanted to see DJs, you would just go there. Because if they mix that in with like, if you had to sit through that or stand through that while you were waiting for like somebody to see somebody, that's kind of awful.
Awful. Yeah. But actual DJs, they like remix and do shit. These guys were literally just playing the songs and just walking back and forth across the stage. Why they even had microphones is beyond me. Because they weren't singing. No. They couldn't sing. They were just there.
Yeah, it was very strange. And also it was emo night and it was very much daytime. Which like that's just a small thing.
I guess that's their brand. Yeah. The emo night thing. God.
I don't know. Because I know like these venues, like I sometimes look at like venues to see like their calendars, like who's coming and stuff. I know they have like once a month they have
every bar does that. Yeah. So it's like, but then Coachella.
Yeah. Did you see any of the Coachella ads that they played in between sets where it's like this dude in his bedroom with all of his Coachella posters and he's like,
oh, I thought it was a bit. I thought it was a sketch.
I don't think it was. He was reminiscing. He's like, I've been to the last 17 Coachellas, and I like to look back at my posters and see who was low on the bill and how big they've become now. And
I thought it was a sketch, but then I was like, oh my god, this. Then I was like, oh my god, this guy's serious. Because then I think he called it Cella, and I was like, oh my god. That's why, I'd never go to that shit.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like outside of emo night, there a lot of really good artists were there, and also there's this thing about it.
I'd rather just go see those bands.
Yeah, but there's something about being able to see like everybody all at once, right?
Yeah, but what you got?
And it's also cool though, because I didn't realize this about Coachella. It's just like famous people are just there, like in the crowd, and you just kind of like wander by them, and it's just like all normal. Like it should be cool, like just like see like I don't know. There's just something about the whole like vibe. I feel like it's something I would want to go to at least one time. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Like what are you gonna do?
I wouldn't say anything. You know, but
yeah. So what does it matter?
I don't know. I feel like it's an experience that I would probably want to do like at least one time. I don't know. Cella. Yeah. I like to call it Co. You going to Co this year?
I was trying to scan the posters in that dude's room to see if like I knew anybody. I saw Isley on one. I was like, oh man. Wow, that's deep. I didn't know they played a Coachella. But and then because like as he was talking about like bands rising up, I was like, yeah, Isley never made it to a top billing at a Coachella.
He was very excited to see in 2005 the Black Eyed Peas were one of the openers.
And he's like, yeah, and look where they are now. It's like, yeah, I don't think they do anything anymore. I think they.
But the thing about Coachella is it's like even the lower bill bands are still well established. Like there's nobody obscure.
Yeah, he was talking like they're like nobody's.
There's nobody obscure.
It's like with the Black Eyed Peas being low billing in like 2004. Like
the Regrets, for example, like they played early in the day and they still have like 1 million listeners on Spotify. Like there's nobody. You're not like there's nobody there that's like the local band that nobody's ever heard of.
Like Japanese Breakfast is like the biggest thing in indie. And she's off on a side stage. Like, yeah.
Had some cool graphics to like a giant screen behind them while they were performing with some cool, like they played the song. I was not expecting them to play one of the songs off the Sable soundtrack. And they had gameplay they had like footage from the game going on in the background. It was really cool. Yeah, Phoebe Bridgers played her new track from Conversations with Friends. And she prefaced it by being like, yeah, I'm going to do the one thing that everybody comes to concerts for, which is to hear new songs. Which is always my thought. It's like, I know you got to play them, but it's like, it's always awkward because then the crowd goes silent. You like lose momentum. And I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, I saw there's like a Foachella happening. I don't know.
What does that mean?
A festival in Ohio or something.
Oh wait, wasn't Harmony Woods going to be on?
That's probably where I saw the poster for it. Yeah, it's probably on Instagram. Yeah,
it's probably got a solid line.
Yeah, honestly, when I was at Foachella in 2007, you wouldn't believe who was. On that
you wouldn't see who was at the bottom, and now look where they are.
CKY, they got so big.
Now there's 2 of them. That's how big they are. Couldn't contain them.
They ended up on MTV.
Shit.
But yeah, that's all I had. Just watch the Maggie Rogers if you can. It's very good.
I think we did a show.
Yeah,
I
think so.
Did we do a show?
This qualifies.
Season 2.
That's right.
Season 2 starting
Season
off.
2 premiere. We didn't do a previously on segment.
Yeah, that would be... Well, I guess we kind of did. We talked about the
Oh,
Souvenir.
true. There we go.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with more nonsense. I do have a couple notes here. So Facebook has banned me from advertising on their fucking platform. I just ran one ad. I just boosted the podcast post once. I gave them money for it, and then like a month later, they're now like, "Hey, you violated all kinds of terms, so you can't advertise anymore." So I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what the fuck their deal is. It's just a garbage
Wow.
website. I don't. It's like whatever, man. It's like okay, fine. You don't want my $10? Whatever. So yeah, fuck Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter at DeadEndRoad. Check out the Twitch, twitch.tv/DeadEndRoadTV. Do YouTube search for DeadEndRoad TV. You can email us anything at all, like your thoughts on the Souvenir or your upcoming thoughts on the Scary of 61st video at deadendroad.co. And if you have time, please give us a rating if the podcast app of your choice allows you to do so, like Apple Podcasts. I have to check to see if anybody's actually done that, because I have not looked. So there might be shit on there, but I have to go check. Yeah, that should do it for us. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening.